Hello everyone, this is Muñoz from the Morristown and Morris Township Library, and I'm joined by fellow movie enthusiast, Motor. Today's foreign film recommendation is El Regreso, a film from 2011 made in Costa Rica, and it stars Hernán Jiménez, who is not only an actor but also the writer and director of this film. And I've included some links to reviews of the film and interviews with the director down below, as well as how to access the film. So Jimenez plays Antonio, who has been living in New York for the last 10 years and trying to make it as a writer, but has not been successful. And he has been summoned back to Costa Rica by his ailing father, who does happen to be a successful writer, and no pressure there. So we start out the film with Antonio arriving in Costa Rica, in San Jose, and he's driving through the city in a taxi, and we're shown a very gritty side of San Jose. It's definitely not your glossy travel tourism bureau infomercial for the city. And about this, Jimenez says, "My goal was to accurately portray Costa Rica and everything beautiful and ugly it has to offer." So Antonio arrives at his family home and is greeted by Amanda, his sister, and she right away gives him this big bear hug and goes on about how she's missed him and why has he stayed away for so long. He's like a deer caught in headlights. He's very unresponsive, and so right away you see that there are issues between them. And we then meet a little boy. He's her son. He's about 4 or 5 years old. His name is Inti. He's very funny, very naughty and bratty, but there's a serious side to that behavior. So there's a lot of issues before they even go through the front door, a lot of unresolved family dynamics. Antonio goes upstairs to talk with his father. They have a very strained and awkward conversation, and Antonio is frustrated by the fact that the father doesn't tell him why he summoned him back, doesn't really share anything with him. So Antonio decides he's going to go back to New York the very next day. That's his plan, but unfortunately, he's mugged that evening, and he has his passport stolen from him. So the next day, he shows up at the passport office bright and early. He thinks he's going to get a new passport quickly. There's a hilarious scene between him and the passport agent. If you've ever seen the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, there's a scene between Steve Martin and the car rental agent, Edie McClurg. And if you've ever seen that, this has shades of that. Also of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So turns out Antonio's going to have to wait a couple of weeks to get a new passport. And so during that time, he's going to have to stay with family and try to reconnect with them. He also reconnects with some of his old friends. So for example, he's in a supermarket and he is approached by a young woman, and she starts, "Don't you remember me?" etc. She was a nearby neighbor, but he barely remembers her, at least not at the beginning. So for some reason, she's not really put off by that, and it's not really a spoiler to tell you that they start developing a romance between them. So I just want to share with you a little bit of what Jimenez says about the film. He said, "El Regreso is about returning to everything that you love and hate about your home and family, and having to deal with that duality of emotions after spending years away. That return to your home and past to find everything changed and difficult is not only a Costa Rican theme, but a universal one." And I found that to be very true. If you've ever seen the movie You Can Count on Me with Laura Linney and Mark Ruffalo, this movie reminded me a lot of that movie. For example, there's the theme of the prodigal son or the prodigal brother returning back home and having to resolve resentments and old issues with family members and others that one had grown up with, and trying to move forward from that. So hopefully that has given you a little bit of insight into the film and whetted your appetite, and I hope to see you again soon. So goodbye from myself and from Motor. Take care, please.